Hey y'all, this is episode 160 of the Late Night Vision Show. We've got a jam-packed show, and it is all about a brand new scope that just came out. And to help me introduce the scope and help to introduce the show, the owner of Outdoor Legacy, Mr. Jason Robertson. What's going on? I hope you're having a good week. Hope you had a good weekend. And this weekend is Memorial Day weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife said, are you going to take off on Memorial Day? I was like, well, I hope. I didn't know we were having Memorial Day. I didn't know when it was, but yeah. I said, we'll try to. So yeah, had a great week, great weekend, just lots of rain here. I'm scared to complain about it because I know when it shuts off, we'll probably go into a drought for the summer. But I think the local count, and there's people that have had a lot more than this, but I think it's about 28 inches in 30 days. And it just seems to rain every day. And I'll be honest, Hans, I think you've had more than me. I mean, you have had some floods that I know we missed, and there hasn't been many days that we've got rain that you haven't. I do think you've had more than that, but I've got several accounts of 28 inches in 30 days. I mean, there's people that are well into the 30s, like way more than we've got, but it's crazy. So yeah, I'm ready to see some sunshine and be able to get out there and kill some hogs without my rubber boots.
That's right. Well, the one good note is we are getting to test a lot of thermal optics in some really bad conditions out in the.
Yes.
I mean, it is. Right now, we're recording this at the end of May of 2021, so we are in our rainy season. We are in our humid season. You go outside and it's getting sticky at night. Pretty much the worst conditions for thermal hunting, just because it affects.
Yeah, rain every day, no sun.
It creates a lot of moisture in the air, which if you thermal hunt a lot, or if you're new to thermal, humidity.
High dew point.
I almost said Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is bad for thermal.
Yeah, dew point. I go out with buddies and hunt now, and if the thermal image looks kind of crappy, they'll say, "Whoop, that dew point must be up. Must be high." And instead of saying that the humidity's high, they always say dew point now. A little jab at us in the show. Yeah. But so we're testing these thermal optics right now in the worst conditions possible, which is good because we need to see a good balance of everything. We are going to get into the hot, dry season eventually. I don't know. East Texas is not very dry, but as you know,
it can be.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. But today, I guess we're recording this tonight, but we are going to be doing our full review. So we got another thermal scope review for you. This is the Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50. So there's been a lot of confusion, Jason. I'll let you, if you want to address it or talk about it later on. As always, we're going to go through the specs, and we're going to do our walk around the scope, the functionality, ID ranges, anything that you can have questions about. Hopefully, we'll answer in this show. If not, if you're interested in purchasing the scope, if you got questions and you want to purchase the scope, you can find us over at OutdoorLegacyGear.com. You can always call us at 877-350-1818. We will help you decide on this scope. If the Thermion 2 XP50 is the right scope for you, we'll let you know if we feel like it is, or if something else is a better fit. But you can give us a call if you're definitely looking forward or looking into getting something. But to circle around as far as with the confusion, there's a lot of people talking about the Thermion 2s, the Thermion 2 Pros, the Helion Pros. There's a lot of people out there that just are confused, and rightfully so. I can sometimes I've got to ask you. I was like, okay, what is this? What's coming out? What are we getting?
The names are starting to run together. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me explain that in a minute. Let me go over. I can explain the difference in this and the original Thermion. If you want me to, all right, you can wait till
roll with it. Yeah, there'll be a good segue into the specs. Yeah.
Oh, you want me to go into it now? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's do this. Thermion. We're going to call it the Thermion 1. Okay. Even though that's really not what it's called. It's just called the Thermion. But for this discussion, the original Thermion, or the Thermion 1, as we'll now call it. It is. And we're going to specifically talk about the XP model. There is also a Thermion 2 XQ38, XQ50. That's something we'll talk about on later episode. This is the Thermion 2 XP50. So just imagine, if you know anything about the Thermions, just imagine your Thermion 1 original XP50. We have taken it they have taken it and they have added a slightly larger lens. Okay. This looks a little bit different out here. It's a little bit bigger in diameter. In the past, the XP50 had a 42 millimeter objective lens, and now it has a true 50 millimeter objective lens. It is an improved lens. It is a faster lens, which just means it's a higher quality lens. And it has a upgraded thermal sensor. All right, so it's still 640 by 480. It's still 17 microns. It's still the same brand of sensor made by Ulyss, all these things. But what it is just an upgrade. It's an incremental upgrade. It is a 20 or less than 25 millikelvin thermal sensor, which we talked about last week's show. We talked about microns, millikelvins, and resolution. So if you don't know what that means, go back and watch episode 159. We'll give you some explanation there of what's going on with all those names and numbers. But at the end of the day, all you need to know is the Thermion 2 XP50 is the replacement for the original Thermion. It's got a slightly larger lens and an upgraded thermal sensor, which just gives you a little better image quality. And how much better? Well, you got to watch the show to find that out.
That's right.
Tell you that right here.
That is right. So we are going to be rolling some clips of this. There is some side-by-side video. You don't see a lot of it. We're going to be rolling side-by-side video. If you're listening on audio-only version, hop on over to YouTube when you stop driving or when you can, because we got side-by-side of the Thermion. You can call it the Thermion 1. We call it the Gen 1.
Gen 1. That'll get more confusion.
Yeah, I know, right? The Thermion XP50 side-by-side with the Thermion 2 XP50. And we'll get into where we can see the differences. But let's roll right into the specs. I appreciate that description because there is a lot of confusion, questions, and people asking. But we're here to help. That's why we're here. And so the price.
And let me say one quick thing, just so we even know. So if you are confused about this much, all you got to know is the current model is the Thermion 2 XP50. The original Thermion is discontinued. So, so the point is, it's not like, well, I get to choose. Right. This is a replacement. It's the exact same price as the original, and the original is gone. So if you're going to buy a new one, this is the one you're going to be looking at. Yeah,
we get into that later if you want, but the fact that Pulsar makes these improvements and they keep their prices steady, it's a great thing. And they've done it not just on this model, but several other models in the past as well, with transitioning from the Trail models to the Thermion XMs to the Thermion XQs. They keep those prices pretty steady, even though there's some pretty good enhancements and changes to them. So kudos to them for that. So the price, Thermion 2 XP50, you probably guessed it. It's the same as the Thermion XP50 at $4,999.97. Led with the price this time because either we put it at the end or sometimes we don't even include it at all. So we put it at the very beginning just to make sure we got it. I've got all these written down, Jason, because I can't memorize this stuff like you. We're working on too many things. But it's a 640 by 480 thermal core resolution. It's a 1.0 f-stop germanium lens. If you're camera people, you know what f-stop is, the 1.0. If you don't, it really, like Jason said, it has to do with the quality of the image. That germanium lens is, very high quality. It's IPX7 rating, so it's submersible to 3 feet for 30 minutes. The base magnification on it starts at 2 power, goes up to 16 power. It is digital zoom. The detection range is 1,800 yards. Like Jason said, it has the -25 NETD new improved thermal sensor on it. So again, if you have questions on that, we did a whole show. And I read the comments. Not everybody was completely bored by our scientific show last week, episode 159 of resolution and millikelvins. It is a lot of people ask this, and this is very important. What's it rated up to as far as recoil? It is rated up to a 375 H&H caliber and a 12 gauge shotgun. A lot more people out there thermal hunting with shotguns for reasons that may depend on the laws of where you're at, where you're hunting. I know that there's people that hunt that have access to hunt on like military bases, but you can't use rifle. You can only use shotgun. So it is rated for 12 gauge shotgun. It will mount with any mount that fits a 30 millimeter tube. So that's a very common size. Provides for a lot of different flexible mounting options, but I know Jason's going to share with you the mount that we use and what we like to use. Multiple color palettes, multiple reticle options and colors, multiple zeroing profiles. It does have picture-in-picture display. I'm a huge fan of picture-in-picture display. I coyote hunt a lot. That is a tool that I use all the time and love it. Rechargeable batteries. And it's got the internal battery and it's got an external battery on top that you can remove by a turret. The internal battery is not removable. The external battery is removable. I know we've done tests on this in different conditions. The range that we're getting on battery life, sometimes anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, depending on the temperature outside. But we've done quite a bit of testing over the last couple years on these batteries, and the batteries are unchanged. Internal video and audio recording, so it does record audio, and it has a full color HD AMOLED display, and it is Wi-Fi capable with the Stream Vision app. So I do not think that I left anything out, or
I don't either. I think it was very good. I think you did a good list there. Very good, very good.
Well,
all right, go ahead.
That's a lot of specs, but the meat and potatoes is, what does it look like? For those that don't know, what is a Thermion, and what makes it more unique than the other thermal scope out there?
Sure. So I want to talk about this real quick. And folks, if you've seen a lot of reviews that we've done on Thermions, there's been a lot of Thermions hit the market since 2019, and we've done a lot of reviews on them. But I'm going to do a walk around on this, kind of show you that the way it's laid out. If you've already seen one of the reviews, or you on a Thermion, you're just like, well, this is old news. But there's a lot of people have never seen one, so I'm going to kind of go over and explain. We're going to start at the front. One thing that is different on this optic as compared to other Thermions, the Thermion 2 has a flip-up spring-loaded lens cap. In the past, you just kind of pressed it, it locked in. This, it's got a little place you press right here, and boom, it pops open. You probably saw that here. Again, I'm showing this on here. You just press it, and it pops open. I told Hans on the phone, I'm having trouble because I've used Thermions for so long, and I'm not used to pressing in. I'm just used to popping it open, and I'm like pressing. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta press that. He's gonna end up breaking one. I'm gonna tell you right now. Basically, I'm gonna break one. I really do like that. So that's that. Then right here again, this is a rubberized focus ring. Grab it. It's got a lot of grip on it, so you can get the scope focused. Moving back on the very top here, we have what looks like a scope turret. We pull this off, twist, it comes out, and here is the removable battery. This is the battery that comes with it. It is an APS-2 battery. You're going to be looking at getting somewhere around 2 hours conservatively out of this battery in normal temperatures. Laying right here inside this scope tube is a longer APS-3 battery. You're going to get about 3 hours out of that battery. It's laid inside here. You can't take it out, but it is rechargeable. This battery is removable. And so a couple things I want to speak to here. You can put the larger APS-3 battery here and get about an extra hour of battery life. There is a taller cap that comes with every scope in the bag with it from Pulsar. So you've got what you need if you get the taller batteries. You'll just change this cap out. One quick thing I want to mention. I get a lot of questions from guys who are like, hey, what happens if this internal battery goes dead? What if I run it dead? What if something happens in a few years and this battery inside of it dies? The scope functions perfectly without this battery charged, even if this battery was not present for some reason. So the way the battery system works is that the scope always defaults to the top or removable battery if it is present and has power. So what happens is, let's just pretend that I've got this battery here in the top and it runs dead. The scope is going to switch over to the internal battery. Now I pull this out, I put a new charged battery in, it switches back over to this. So the way that I view the internal battery is kind of like a spare gas can. And it's actually a big gas can, but that's how I use it. I always want to use my top battery first. That's how the scope's set up, and that's the battery that I'm going to replace when it goes dead. But if for something ever happens and you run them completely down, this internal battery, or it dies or whatever, something terrible happens, you put another battery in the top, you're good to go. Also, right here, we're going to take this. Looks like, again, like a turret. It says XP50. We'll take this cap off, and you can see we have an exposed USB port right there. All right. So that is where you will charge the internal battery. Now, you can plug in a USB cable that comes with the scope into the wall, and you can charge the removable battery and the internal battery at once. That's how I like to do it. I just plug it in, charge both batteries at one time. If you are in cold conditions or hunting for very, very long hours and you don't want to be messing with a bunch of batteries, you can actually run an external USB battery pack. Now, I'm going to tell you something I'm going to do here in a little bit when Hans starts talking, something I've never done on this show. I'm going to actually get up and leave my seat, and I'm going to go, because right over here on this other desk across the room, or on the shelf, I have an external battery pack system that I've actually had made, that we are selling on our website specifically for the Thermions, and I want to show that on this show. We've never shown it on a show. I've never pushed them, but I've got them. They're really cool, and I want to show that on here and show how it really helps you. But again, USB battery power right there.
So stay tuned, folks, because Jason's going to knock over every piece of equipment when he gets up to go get this battery pack.
Exactly right. It's going to be
entertaining.
It's going to be a great professional piece of footage. Also, that is where you will plug in your USB cable when you plug this into your computer to pull your recorded video off. Turning the scope around, what we have on this side is we have a scroll wheel menu button. So what happens is you will, if you're wanting to navigate through the menus, this right here, I know you can't really see it, but this gray button presses in. It's just a real soft press, and that is how you can open up the main menu. And then this right here, again, I know it's hard to see, but this is spinning around. It just makes a little very, very soft clicking sound, and you can feel it kind of hitting the notches. And that's how you will run through the different menus and change the different settings inside the scope. Moving on back, I promise we're almost done. You get back here, and this is where I think the brilliance of the Thermion really starts to shine. It is so simple, but that's the whole point. Right back here on top of this rear eyepiece, you have 3 buttons. And I always tell people, this is what makes the scope simple. All right. So you've got 3 buttons. You've got a power button. That's logical. You've got a zoom button, and you've got a record button. Well, on a normal night, my scope is already zeroed. I've already got my brightness and my contrast, everything set the way I want. I've chosen my reticle. That's there to stay. But when I go out into the field, there's 3 things that I'm going to want to do. I'm going to want to turn the power on, and that's also the button you would use if you were manually or semi-automatically calibrating it. But you've got your button for power. You've got your zoom. You can also turn on and off picture-in-picture there, and your video recording. I don't know what else you need. I mean, that's all of them right there, and they're so easy to get to. Yeah. Moving back from that, this is your diopter or your eyepiece focus. So whenever you get a thermal scope, you want to take this right here. You want to focus the screen, all but the text, anything on the screen, to your eye, and then you want to come up here and focus this. Once this is set for you, you shouldn't have to change it again, unless someone else picks up your scope and changes it, then you'll go to the front focus. So that is the walk around. And while I've got it and I'm holding it here, It's kind of awkward for me to hold this thing with this mount on it. I've had it on here, but since I've been working around it, I want to show you. This is the American Defense Manufacturing Recon mount that we sell. Now, this one is a custom special mount that American Defense made for Hans and I. It's got the Outdoor Legacy logo and the Late Night Vision logo. It's awesome of them to do that for us. But we do sell these mounts. They do not have these logos on there. They do have the Outdoor Legacy logo here on the base they've put on them. Right now, again, this is 2021 May. Those are $189. We've sold hundreds of these mounts. These are a legit Thermion mount. They work for every single Thermion, original Thermion, Thermion 2s. They are American made, high-end mounts, lifetime guarantee. They return to zero if you take them off and on the rifle. Legit mounts. If you're looking for a mount, whether it's a thermal scope or even a daytime scope, whatever it is, American Defense is the way to go, and we do have those mounts at Outdoor Legacy.
Yeah, very, very good. So everybody wants to know, how far can you see with it? Well, detection range, like we said, 1,800 yards, so that's a human-sized target. You should be able to see it 1,800 yards. I'm going to lay it out like this. I'm going to say it in kind of like when you go to the store or something, you have the good, better, best option. I would say if you are fairly new to thermal hunting, and I'm not going to say day one, but you've done it a couple times, you're getting a thermal scope, you don't do it thermal hunt that much, but you would consider yourself pretty new. I would say a conservative ID range is going to be probably 400 yards or so.
I think easily.
Maybe a little bit less if it's bad conditions, but if you're, somewhat brand new to thermal hunting, if you find yourself and you say to yourself, I'm not new, but I don't do this quite often. Maybe you hunt a couple times a month, maybe a few times a quarter. I would say, ID range probably going to be around 500 yards. Maybe give you another 100 yards worth of ID range. And if you're an expert, like everybody out there on Instagram, 600 yards,
1,000, 2,000.
1,000 yards. No. If you do it a lot, I'd say if this is something you do and this is your hobby, you don't fish, you don't do anything else but thermal hunt, you should probably not have an issue in good conditions IDing at 600 yards. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that.
Yeah,
but brand new.
I think it's good conditions.
Brand new, 400 to 600 yards, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Tonight, I was actually using this thing, and right now, again, it's been wet. We've got ryegrass that is over 2 foot tall. It is just really tall. And I was out there. I was actually elevated off my back porch, looking down into my pasture in the bottom, about 250 yards. There was something down there. I couldn't tell what it was. And, I pulled out several scopes, and nothing could see any better than this. And I was like, cannot tell what it is. And I knew what it probably had to be. I really thought it was a deer. Eventually, it raised its head up, and it was a deer. Yeah. So the point that I'm trying to make here is there's times there's going to be animals that stump you. You don't know what it is. They might even fool you. You get bad conditions or whatever, but the more you hunt, you're going to be able to figure out, is that a coyote running in across that short ground, that grazed pasture or plowed ground, and I'm running a coyote call? It's probably a coyote. Sometimes it's a process of elimination.
Or it's a hog at 100 yards, or you think it's a hog at 100 yards, but it turns out to be an armadillo at 10. I mean,
I've done that before.
It's known to happen a few times,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's definitely. Well, I agree with you on the ID ranges. I mean, 400 or 500 yards, I think just a safe bet. I mean, there's going to be times, like I said tonight at 250, I was trying to get an ID. As soon as that deer raised its head up, I went, oh, that's deer, obviously. So sometimes it takes a little bit of work. But another thing that, people have been asking and they always want to know is, who is this scope good for? Mm-hmm. And when we ask that question on this show, we try to do that on scope reviews. Who's it good for? People are like, what do you mean? Well, is it good for the guy who, and before I even answer that, I want to go and say, this is a big thing about thermal scopes is they're tools, and they're tools. They have specific strong points. and you might be able to make them do other things they may not be quite as good at, but they have a strong point. So a guy who is shooting coons off of a corn feeder at 25 yards, and that's all he's doing most of the time, needs a different scope than a guy who is in North Dakota and is needing to shoot coyotes at 300 yards.
Right.
That's just two different scopes. And there's a lot of stuff in between there. And so who is this scope good for? Being that it is a 2-power base magnification, 640 high resolution, I think that it is better suited for hog hunters. I think that a coyote hunter can use it, but he needs to be keeping most of his shots under 200 yards. I think if you're doing a lot of 250, 300 yard shooting, I think if you're doing a lot of 150 yard shooting, this scope is, in my opinion, not ideal for you. Can you zoom up and still have a very good image? Absolutely. But the issue is that you're going to be zooming up. Yeah. And as soon as you zoom up, the very first time you get off a 2-power and you go to 4, your resolution cut in half to 320 by 240. You are now using a 320 resolution scope that you paid $5,000 for. Very, very few people are going to shoot over 100 yards at 2-power. It's just unlikely. Yeah. So so again, I'm not saying you can't hunt coyotes with it, but I think this is a hog hunter deluxe, or again, a guy who's just not going to be shooting long range. Viewing long range, we've already said 400 or 500 yards shouldn't be an issue. But if you know, hey, really common, I'm going to be doing a lot of 150, 200 plus yard shooting, I think you need to move up to something in the 3-power magnification range. What do you think, Hans?
This is a tough one because it's so subjective, because you'll get people out there that have this scope and like, man, I coyote hunt and shoot coyotes 250 yards all day long. And if you do, that's fantastic. You're a really good shot. So keep at it. Keep doing it. I think you're exactly right. The first thing that we all have to do as hunters, and if we're looking for a scope, is really think about our situation. Would I consider myself primarily a hog hunter, that does nothing but hog hunt? Do I consider myself primarily or only a coyote hunter if I live in areas that don't have hogs? Am I an occasional hog hunter but primary coyote hunter, with somebody that lives up north that travels down a few times a year to hog hunt? Or am I primarily a hog hunter that occasionally coyote hunts? So what percentage back and forth are you going to be hunting hogs or coyotes? And then of that, what are the ranges that you typically think you're going to shoot at from the areas that you hunt? But I think you're exactly right. This is, I would say, primarily a hog hunter's scope. And if you occasionally coyote hunt, I think this is something that you could make work. If I was primarily a coyote hunter or somebody that was taking longer shots, I'll probably look at some other options. But, and there's a case to be made. There's a lot of coyote hunters that to them, base magnification is more important than resolution. And I know that
Sure.
seems weird to think about, because you always think, last week we said resolution is the most important number. But if you want to buy a scope, when I tell people, you want to buy a scope that you can use almost 100% of the time on the base magnification. That's where you're going to have the best hunting experience, more comfortable, more enjoyable. You want to use that scope where you're rarely magnifying the image is a rarity. So you have coyote hunters that will choose higher base magnification and not really focusing a lot on whether it's a 640 or a 384 scope, because they figure if they buy a low magnification 640 resolution scope, then they are paying for resolution that they're not going to use, because they're always going to have to magnify the image. And that's the smart way to think about it. I mean, there's
Yep.
some truth behind that, and there's a real a big reason why scopes like the XQ50 at 3.5 power are so popular with coyote hunters, is because they're choosing magnification over resolution. Now, if you are primarily a coyote hunter and 3 power is more in your range, or 3.5 or 4, there's options in 640 scopes that are higher magnifications. But like Jason said, if you're primarily a hog hunter, occasional coyote hunter, or you coyote hunt, but you're in Kentucky. I get a lot of people in Kentucky that that have very, they're like us in East Texas. The coyotes come out of woods at 50 to 100 yards, and that's pretty much as long a shot as they get. But I'll tell you what, and we'll get into our likes and dislikes. You'd be hard pressed to find a scope at this price with all the features and as good a quality as it has. This is a really good one at almost $5,000. But yeah, I know that was a long explanation for what you were asking for, but I think
it was very, very good. I mean, you summed that up excellent. I can't agree more. You got to get what works for you, and magnification is a very, very big deal, folks. If you just listen to that and you're like, okay, that all sounds good, but I still don't know what I need. That's when you need to reach out to Hans or at Outdoor Legacy, and we'll be glad to help you, because we can walk you through this. It does sound confusing, and we're probably not the best guys at explaining it here, on this podcast. But we've got in our head, we know exactly. If we can talk to you and hear about what you're doing and what your conditions and shooting range are, we can make a good suggestion. So. Going on with that, I want to talk about. Go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing, because we get a lot of people, daytime hunters, that call up that are wanting to cross over to thermal scope, and they're used to their settings on their daytime scope. So they say, "Well, man, I shoot on 12 power. That's what I like, and I shoot, 100 yards at 12 power." Well, you're not going to find a base magnification thermal scope at 12 power. So like Jason said, if you are trying to see what the crossover between daytime and nighttime optic would be, that's something, again, that we can look at and take a look at and walk through, because it's hard to draw a lot of comparisons between day and night hunting as it pertains to those scopes.
Okay, so I want to get into this, because before this is over, I do want to show I've already gotten up, Hans. You didn't even know it, and I only dropped one or two things. So I do want to go over. I've got this while I'm talking about it. I'm going to
fall over. No busted.
No, I already did drop something over there. I'm going to make a bunch of noise while we're doing this and pull this thing out. Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. I want to talk about this scope and our likes and dislikes. One thing we haven't even done yet, we haven't even brushed on really what we think about the scope at all. And so now's the time that I want to get into that. And then kind of closing this in a minute, we will go ahead and say, compare this to the original Thermion a little more. And hey, should you upgrade if you've got a Thermion XP50, original? What I like about this optic, again, making an assumption that you've never used a Thermion, I would just have to say overall design of it. Hans and I are big fans of the Thermion design. We were not originally, before we ever used one. We're like, oh, I don't know, like the way it looks. As soon as we got them, we just fell in love, both of us. The day we zeroed the first Thermion, we were like, oh yeah, and we've been hooked.
Oh, yeah. We saw pictures of it, and I don't know. I'm not going to repeat everything that we thought, but when we saw
were not
it,
happy.
When we saw it in person and we put our face behind it, it was, I don't want to seem like a big love fest, but it felt like a glove that you owned for 10 years. And you found it on the floorboard under your seat, and you put it on, and you're like, oh,
it
man.
was good.
Yeah.
It was nice. So, so really, really do like it. Again, I've already talked about kind of going over those things, that the functions on the outside. I think the ease of use is very good. I think if you were concerned with, hey, this is confusing, it's got a bunch of stuff that I don't know about, I don't know about video recording, I don't want to record, whatever. This is simple. You don't have to worry about that. You get the scope set up, you get it zeroed. You don't ever have to go back into the main menu if you don't want to. Again, the simple buttons, for a normal night of turning it off and on are right there. Image quality is outstanding. I'm hoping that by, Hans has showed some video here from these scopes while we've been talking, and the sharpness, the clarity, the detail in the background images in the foreground and the grass, the trees, the limbs, the leaves, very, very sharp. The edges of the animals. This is where I think we're seeing the benefits of this better, faster lens, as well as this sub 25 millikelvin thermal sensor on the NETD rating. It's an excellent image quality. I mean, it is. I mean, I can't just keep going on and on, but it is outstanding.
Yeah, you and I sometimes we're pretty skeptical as it pertains
Correct.
to, you know, differences and, you know, when they make minor changes, and we're like, okay, but is it noticeable? You know, is
That's
it something
right.
that you're going to turn it on or look through each of these scopes and see clearly? And like Jason said, and you see the videos that we rolled the side by side, you will see more detail in background objects. So trees or whatever in this background, you'll see more details in that. And then the edges of the animal are going to be sharper. So around the animal, those lines are going to be more distinct, more clear. In the video we show, I told Jason, I was like, man, it almost makes it look like we don't have the regular XP50 focused well enough.
That's right.
Because the Thermion 2 XP50 is so sharp. And I promise you, we focused both of them properly. You know, they were definitely both focused. And you know the thing, you and I loved the Thermion XP50, the regular one. We loved it and never thought anything of it. But when you put the two scopes up and the two videos side by side, it is noticeable the difference in the picture quality as far as, you know, the sharpness and the detail of the image with that sensor. You know, that sensor is just picking up, it's more sensitive to heat signatures and is, you know, picking up more than the last sensor was going to be able to pick up, to put it as well as I can understand it. I'm not Bill Nye the Science Guy like my buddy over here, but
No, not me.
But yeah, it's picking up more heat signature, more detail, and you know, that side by side video just shows you that you can see, and the difference is very noticeable.
Yeah, it is. So this is one of those upgrades. Hans said it, you know, and we've gone on the record, and some of the other, you know, scopes that have been upgraded, even some of the Pulsar products, where we said, hey, you know what, it may be a little bit better, we can barely see it, but it didn't cost any more, so here it is. You know, it's like, what's it matter? It didn't hurt anything.
Right.
This is one of those where it is noticeable. It is, you put it side by side, and if you put 100 people behind it, you know, 99 of them are going to see the difference. That other, you know, one guy, you always got to, you know, there's a Democrat somewhere that can't see it. But no, but so seriously, it's there. I mean, it's not something that somebody's got to educate you and go, okay, you see the difference here, look there. I think you'd see it side by side. So really impressed with that. And then again, I know we were going to talk about our dislikes, but let's hold that for one quick second. Let's go ahead and compare this to the original Thermion and the answer the question of, hey, should you upgrade? So I think we've kind of already alluded to it. You know, you are going to see that sharper, crisper image, a little more detail in the animals, the background. But what I'm already getting the phone calls about is, hey, I've got the Thermion XP50. Should I go out and sell that and buy this? Is it worth? And I say the upgrade. In a way, it's not an upgrade. I mean, it's the exact same price, but if you've already got that one, you're going to have to sell it. You know, you're not going to sell it for full price. You're going to take a hit on it. Then you're going to come buy this one at full price. Is it worth it? And I'm going to put that question to you and let you answer. What would you say to that, Hans? I have an answer, but I want to see what you say.
I came up with the show notes, and that was not on my show notes. You
well,
went way
you know,
off
it's
there. Way off the rails.
Creative license.
Yeah, gosh, that's the last time I give you any power in going with the show. So,
Exactly.
You know, that is the $1 million question that to people it does seem like an upgrade because it's been hyped up to be an upgrade. With the new sensor, and there it is. I mean, it is an upgrade in the picture quality. There's no doubt about it. We talked about how that it is noticeable when you see the two picture images. Well, I'll say it as plainly, as clearly as possible. There is a difference in picture quality of these two scopes. I know that the Thermion 2 will not make you shoot any more hogs or coyotes than you already are shooting with your regular Thermion XP50. It might look better while you're doing it, a little bit, a little bit more detail. So if you're out there and you're creating video and you're putting content together and you want the best out there, then yeah, it's going to look better on video. So you might want to take that. But, is it going to help you be more effective out in the field? It's hard to make a case for that. It really is. As much as I love this scope, as much as
but I would make that case if we compared this to a $7,000-$9,000 scope. I mean,
yes,
we've said that a long time. I mean, how many more animals are you going to kill if you get the highest end, nicest thermal optic on the market?
Yeah.
And if we're talking about shooting them within 200 or 300 yards, I don't know that you're going to kill a single one more. I mean, you're going to have a better image. I mean, it's a different experience, but yeah.
I think, you're exactly right. I mean, we get to a point with these scopes that it's not about how effective you can be with certain scopes. It's just how good do you want it to look when you look through the eyepiece.
And we're splitting hairs.
And all these scopes, all these scopes, I'm going to tell you, all of these scopes in the 640 range, every single one of them look fantastic. The brands that we sell. If there's a brand out there we're not selling, it's a 640 scope. There's probably a reason why we're not selling it. But in the brands that we sell, the Pulsars, the Envision, the iRay, there's some other brands that I think are coming out with a 640 pretty soon.
Trigicon's got but you're right. All of those, I think we're splitting hairs on how good these things are.
You look through those scopes, you're like, man, this is amazing. It's 640, but that's just the standard now.
So my opinion of should you upgrade, this is what, I talked to 2 or 3 guys today on the phone about it, and my answer is this. If you got an XP50, you're perfectly happy with it, you weren't thinking about upgrading, then don't upgrade. Keep it. If you're one of those guys who just going to run his scope until the wheels fall off, it's like just drive my truck till it blows up. Don't get rid of it. It's not that kind of an improvement. However, there is a large section of guys in the thermal industry or hunters or say thermal world who they like to upgrade. They like to keep a scope for 1 year, 2 year, maybe 3 years before the warranty runs out, sell it and upgrade. So it's kind of like the guy who keeps his truck to, some people keep them to 30,000, some people keep them to 60, some guys run them to 100, and then the rest just run them forever. And I don't know where you fall into that. So if you're somebody that's like, man, you know what? I've had my Thermion for a year now, year and a half. I wouldn't mind upgrading. There's still a lot of value in my original. If I could get rid of that, roll into this, without too much more money out of pocket, then that's a good option. Then I would say, yes, it is worth that upgrade. But just if you're ready to kind of make that move, but if you're perfectly happy and until you watch this show, you weren't even thinking about upgrading, no, because what I believe is this. I believe that a guy that's sitting there right now that says, yeah, man, I hadn't thought about it, but I could sell mine and get this new one. I think he's going to go to all that trouble. He's going to sell his scope used. He's going to take a hit on it. He's going to buy the new one. He's going to be like a kid in a candy store. He's going to get it out of the box and he's going to go, well, it's better, but exactly. I was hoping for, he's going to have built it up in his mind of just how amazing it's going to be. And so, you know what I'm getting at? I just think that if you're looking to upgrade, yes, it's absolutely worth the upgrade. But if you're just happy and plan on keeping the scope for, whatever indefinitely, then no. I don't think there's any reason to run out and buy a new one, but it is a very good scope. Now let's talk about real quick, talk about all the things we like. What do we not like about it? Is there anything, if we could just change, we wouldn't have?
One thing I think is the battery setup, and we've talked about it before, but I think it's worth mentioning again. The fact that it does have an internal battery, the fact that it's a 2-battery setup. It concerns people sometimes with that internal battery. You and I never really been concerned about it.
But I understand the concern.
I understand the concern. Yeah. Absolutely. Battery, it's a touchy subject for a lot of people because you get some people out there that don't want rechargeable batteries at all. They love their CR123s and that's all they want. And you got some that, internal batteries, non-removable, concern them. You got some that they think non-removable batteries are the best and the bee's knees and all that kind of stuff. So, the battery setup, I think, has always been something that wasn't our favorite. We, preferred that, the trail one, the big removable battery on the trail units before the Thermions came out, and that's what we liked. So, that being one of the issues, other than that, I can't think of anything. I mean, this is.
I'm sitting here. If anybody's watching this, go ahead, please.
I'll say one more thing too. I don't know if all of y'all have noticed it out there, but bolt action rifles, the popularity are starting to come back. There more and more people now, and these are AR owners. I'm an AR owner, had them hunting with them forever, but I've started to pick up some bolt action rifles and hunt with them. A lot of other people, I don't know what's causing this kind of nostalgic phase we're going in, where people are going back to these older bolt action rifles or new customized bolt action rifles, but this thing is perfect for that. And that's one of the things that I love about it, is that being able to mount it on a bolt action rifle and hunt with it. But as far as the dislikes, I like the way that it looks, but there's some people out there that don't like the way that the Thermion looks. To them, it does not look like a thermal scope should. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I wouldn't say that is a dislike of mine, but there are a lot of people out there that see it as a dislike.
I've been sitting here, literally, if y'all were watching, I was looking down this whole time. I was looking at this scope, and I kept thinking like, okay, yeah, I mean, I don't mind the batteries. I wish it didn't have an internal battery. I agree with everything Han said. I'm like, okay, what else do I not like about the scope? I mean, I'm looking for something to nitpick, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't want to say it's a perfect scope by any means. I don't think there's such a thing, but gosh, we like the design, the Thermion design. The internal battery, again, it's something that, we can live with. I don't know. I mean, image quality, I'm all about the 2-power magnification. I've already told you the function, the fit, the finish. I mean, this is a high-end, very nice, well-built, European-made thermal optic. I don't know what there is not to like. So I really a big fan.
It's one of the least expensive 640 resolution scopes that I can think of right now on the market. But
absolutely.
It's one of our favorites, and it's one of the best. As far as
I'm going to tell you
for
this,
the money, value for the money.
Yes.
Jason and I have been huge fans of the XP50 back to the trail days. It is on our rifles right now. We are huge XP50 fans, and for the money, golly, it's just
this scope holds its own against scopes that are a lot more money than it is. It holds its own very well. Hey, real quick, folks, before we run out of time, I want to show you this battery system, because this is, again, guys, if you're hunting down here in the South and, you're going out for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, probably not a big deal for you. Guys that are in cold weather, this could be a big deal. So I want to show you this. This has been one of the complaints with running an external battery. You pull off this cap, you stick in your USB cable, and it sticks out the side. Even if you put a right angle, it sticks here, and you're just waiting to bump it and break that off. So what we've got is, in our kit, it comes with these magnetic USBs. So look, this is connectors. There's actually 3 of them in here in case you ever lose one, but they're little bitty. They're magnetic. And what they do is you stick this right in here, if I can see it while we're doing this on camera.
Yeah, those things are,
stick this, they're little bitty.
Yeah.
You stick it in. You get in this kit a new cap that has been made specifically for this, and it's got a hole drilled in it. So right now you're back to your, you got your waterproofing there. You don't have to worry about that. Looks good. So now you've got this little magnetic USB that would normally be your female, but it's sitting right there. Now you get this cable with it. This is not just a normal magnetic USB cable. What's unique about this is that this, hope you can see this, this swivels 180 degrees, okay? So now you're going to just put this right here. It locks right in. And I'm trying to find a good way to show this. But because it swivels like this, and because it's magnetic, it swivels 360 degrees that way.
Yeah.
and any other way. This is brilliant. So now if you got this, and let's just say that you're in the brush, you're in the thick stuff, something happens and you snag it, it's magnetic. It comes right off.
Absolutely.
Yes, you lost the power, but no, you didn't rip anything out of there. You didn't bend anything in there. I mean, this is a strong magnet, okay?
I've seen people break off the USB plug inside of the plug on the scope. So yeah, that's a really cool design, and
it is a great design, and it's super quick. I mean, if you want to take it off, if you're not using it anymore, right there, I'm already back. That's all it takes. We sell that as a kit with 3 of these magnetic females, this swivel cord, the replacement cap, a battery pack, 10,000 milliamp battery pack that will run this scope for all night long, multiple nights, and a custom buttstock pouch that will connect up onto your rifle or your forearm or whatever. We've got the whole kit available at Outdoor Legacy. Let me see what the name of it is, because somebody asked me the other day, they said, what do you call it? We call it an external power kit, Pulsar Thermion DigX rifle scope. So just search for Pulsar external power on our website, and you'll find that whole kit there. Yeah. If you got questions about it, feel free to drop us an email. But so folks, this is the review of the Thermion 2 XP50, and it's a win. It's a big win, and Hans said something that's very important. We only keep, 1, 2, 3 at the most, but normally 2 scopes that we'll continue to use when we're not testing other stuff. And we're changing scopes like we change socks and underwear. Okay, we're always testing. But when the demo scopes that we're testing, when they come off the rifle and it goes back to what we want, what we choose on our rifles, that we're going to go hunting just by choice, I can tell you both of us have chose this scope. I mean, right now, this is on there. This is going to stay on my rifle. I've got this and another scope picked out. We'll talk about that other scope later on. But this is my main choice of thermal rifle scope right now, and I plan on leaving it on there. I am super excited about it. So that is my 2 cents.
All righty. Well, if you're interested in purchasing the Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50, call Jason at 877-350-1818. Be sure to tell Michaela hi and that we sent you over there. So again, 877-350-1818. The website, outdoorlegacygear.com. Outdoorlegacygear.com, is you can find all the thermal scopes, night vision scopes, anything you want. The external battery pack deal that Jason was talking about, all on there. He told you how to find it. That is not a Pulsar product, so it's not something you're going to find through Pulsar. Right. That's something you're going to only find through us. So if you want to find out more about how to find Jason, it's pretty easy to do. All you got to go is pretty much any social media platform and type in Outdoor Legacy Gear. And when I say any, I mean Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Those are the ones that he's perusing on sometimes when he's not on the hunting forums. You can find me over at Instagram and on YouTube at Hans ETX. That's Hans East Texas. On Instagram, post a lot over there, doing review videos. On YouTube, I will be doing a full hunting video and review of the Thermion 2 XP50 very soon. I'm putting all those hunting videos in the can as we speak. But I hope you enjoyed the video today with some of the live video that we were able to get through the scope. We'll continue to do stuff like that. But as far as the show, if you want to find any of the past episodes, you can do so on thelatenightvision.show.com. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you listening on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, all the podcast apps as well.
That is a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching this review. Check back with us next week. We'll have another great episode for you. We're here every week, good Lord willing, and we hope to see you again then. So between now and then, y'all stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.